Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and once again we are back out here in my hot garage. It has been like 102, 103 degrees every day here in North Texas. Man, is it hot, and this garage just retains the heat. Got some fans blowing on me, so sorry about the hum in the background. I was able to do some gun vaulting today, and I wanted to share with you my initial thoughts and experiences with 3 pistols that I shot. I also am wanting to apologize for sounding a little bit exasperated. I just got back from a bike ride. I almost went 10 miles tonight. It was just too hot. I think I got like 9.5 miles. So I did that, came home, took a shower, and then just came out here to show you the results. So this morning, I went to the range, as I said, and I shot 3 pistols. And I have a number of people that have lent guns to the channel right now. And so I have this big stack of stuff. And so if you have lent guns to the channel, know that I try to get to one from like every pile. So I try to like spread the love a little bit. So I reviewed a gun from Matt, a gun from Jack number 2, and a gun from D today. On my next range trip, I have a gun from Jack number 1, and then I'll probably do another Matt gun and maybe another D gun, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what I get to. And normally when I do 3 guns like this, it's enough shooting footage at the range for me for the week, essentially, because I got to film the range reports and edit them between my regular day job. So let's talk about the guns I shot and reviewed this morning. We're going to start off with the little one. And this is a gun that I have reviewed before in the past. And I like this gun, or the review of this gun, or what it's going to be, because it's so different than everything else that I review. I'm very blessed in that I get to review, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 guns. And this gun, probably back in the 1970s, early 80s, which is when this gun would have been made, because it's a Jennings Firearms J-25. It says Model 25 on the slide, but it's a J-25 according to like the nomenclature I found online. And it was like $35 back in the day. This thing is like a super duper cheap throwaway Saturday night special that people would have picked up at a a pawn shop. And they were kind of notorious because they were so cheap, you would just throw them away, essentially, after you committed your crime. But I actually have said in the past, and I do agree with some people that say these guns had a place in the Second Amendment community. Yes, they're pieces of junk. Yes, they're unreliable. But the Second Amendment belongs to everybody. And there are people in this world that literally have nothing. I mean, they are so poor they have nothing, but they still have the right to self-defense. And they might be able to scrounge up the little money it takes to buy one of these. Now, would I recommend this? No. Would I recommend this caliber? No. It has a lot of problems to it. But you know what? This is better than nothing. But I reviewed this in the past, and I remember having a lot of problems with it, and I think I actually gave it a very low score. I gave it a very low score. Memory seems to serve me that says I gave it like 1 or 2 stars because I had so many problems with it, and it was so inaccurate. I mean, it's a little 25 ACP vest pocket gun. But I think I have become a better shooter since I reviewed this. And believe it or not, I actually got decent accuracy out of this gun. I reviewed it at shorter distances than I normally would. So I started off at 5 yards. And I would say at 5 yards, I was able to put 12 rounds, because the magazines they actually hold 7 rounds. You could shove 7 in there, but they're really only designed for 6. If you try to put 7 in there, the first round nosedives. So 12 rounds, I put 2 magazines through it, and at 5 rounds, I was able to get a group about this big. 5 yards, I was able to get a group about this big, which I think for what this gun is, it's pretty good. And then I went out to 10 yards, and I got a group that was about that big. And then at 25 yards, when I bench rest it, it was a group about that big. So for what this is, it was actually pretty accurate. Yes, I had some problems. I had mainly a feeding issue on the first round of every magazine, where I would load the magazine, pull the slide back, and then when I let the slide go, it wouldn't feed that first round. It would stick on the feed ramps. And so typically the only thing I had to do was push the slide forward and it would chamber. And then all the other rounds were fine. When I shot hollow points through this, I had a couple of stovepipes, and it seemed like the hollow points were not loaded as powerful as the ball ammunition, so I had very weak ejections. But the ball ammunition, the Winchester white box that I used in this, was pretty good. So my opinion of this gun and the accuracy of this gun is better than it was. I actually think I'm going to give this thing like a medium score, like a 3-star, maybe 3.5, believe it or not, for what it is. You know, I mean, it is a piece of junk. It wasn't 100% reliable. I'd say it's 70% reliable for me, but it worked. And maybe that's just because I'm a better shooter and maybe a better reviewer now. So I had some fun with this. And I personally think that 25 ACP, while many people foo-foo it as a caliber today, I think it's a caliber that has potential and had potential. The history of 25 ACP is interesting in that it was designed by John Moses Browning because companies wanted something that was centerfire, meaning it was more reliable than 22, but had about the same ballistics. And so he figured out the smallest you can really put a small pistol primer into a case is about 25 auto. And I think it's in general, it's a better round than 22 long rifle. But a lot of people think it's a silly round because the guns that it's chambered in. So you have a lot of Saturday Night Specials vest pocket guns. But we don't have that same perception of 22 long rifle. Because we have very high-end, Olympic level guns in 22 long rifle. I really feel like 25 ACP, if it would have been allowed to develop, it could have been better than 22 long rifle. It would chamber better. It would feed from magazines better because it's not a rimmed cartridge. It would be center fire, and because the case is a little bit thicker, I think you could get better ballistics out of it. It just was never able to develop into anything better because of the guns it was chambered in. But that's my thoughts on 25 ACP. And no, it's not a great self-defense cartridge, but neither is 22 long rifle. People will always bring that up, but it's better than nothing, right? All right, the next gun that I reviewed, which one is this? Oh, yeah. Okay, the next gun I reviewed is one a lot of you were really interested in knowing how it shot. The HK P7 M10. This is an okay gun. It's an okay gun. I don't have a lot of experience with the P7, but everything that people say about the P7 is true. All of it. It's a weird feeling having to squeeze cock the gun. You have the front strap of the grip, and of course, let me safety check the gun. Looks like we are clear and good. So it's really weird to pick up the gun, and before you pull this trigger, you have to pull this back. It's different. You're just not used to it. It's not that it's bad, it's just different. The trigger in it's pretty good. Recoil for 40, about what I would expect. But then there's the heat. I shot this thing a lot for the range report. I mean, I did my usual series of tests, and I had to redo one of the tests because Knucklehead me forgot to turn on the camera. So I think I did the hollow point test 2 times, and that was 20 rounds. Because, as I said, I forgot to turn the camera on. And then when I turned the camera on to take it off the tripod to show the target, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I gotta do it again. But by the time I got to the shoot fast portion of the range report, the heat built up here on the frame and around the trigger, it literally was burning my finger. And I had heard stories about that because you have that piston underneath the barrel that slows the action down, and it gets hot. You have a lot of heat transfer. And this gun got really hot. I even got out the laser thermometer that I always take with me to the range. And on the side of the frame, right here, where typically, you know, if you're not shooting, you take your finger and you put it to the side of the frame. It was reading at 142 degrees. That's how hot it was. And I mean, it burned. It burned. It was hot. So I had to put the gun down and let it cool off for a good 5 minutes before I could finish the range report. Accuracy-wise, it's good duty accuracy. This is not like a tack driver. It's not like a 2011 or anything. I think it's because it has the shorter barrel. It should have better accuracy because the barrel is essentially mounted into the frame, so it's not like a tilting barrel action. But I got okay accuracy. As I said, good practical and range accuracy for it, but it wasn't a tack driver for me. It's definitely cool. It gets hot. It gets real hot, and having to shoot this with the squeeze cocker is weird. An interesting thing about the design of this gun is, you know, of course, you got to squeeze the front strap and then you can fire the gun. But did you know that if you pull the trigger and then pull this and then squeeze the grip, let's see if I can do it here, it will also fire. Yeah, see, watch. I'll pull the trigger, then I'll squeeze the grip. You can see the striker come out the back as it's happy to see you, and then it fires. Yeah, so you don't have to fire this gun with the trigger. You can fire it with the front strap. Now, I did not do that at the range, but that's just an interesting artifact of the design of this gun. I wasn't able to shoot it as fast as I was hoping, but it's pretty good. I mean, it's definitely cool, and out of all of the gas delay piston guns I have ever shot, this is by far the best and the highest quality. You know, I've shot the Walther CCP. I used to own one. I never did a range report on it, which uses the same system. That thing has a horrible trigger in it. There's another gun that has that same. Oh yeah, I recently did the Vector CP one, same system, and it's not as good. Nothing. Everyone tries to copy this gun's design, but always fails. But yeah, cool gun. I think a lot of collectors and HK people are going to like the review, but I come away from shooting it and going, it's good. But I don't go, wow, it's an amazing experience. I can't believe I got to do that. I mean, it is cool that it is a M10, but you don't leave it going, that's something amazing. It's just, it's different. It's different. But it's going to get a good review. So that was the HK. And then finally, I took the Nighthawk Custom Firehawk to the range. And this gun shot exactly like you would expect it would. This gun is a tack driver. It's a tack driver. It's awesome. It's really nice. In fact, this one might be my favorite Nighthawk Custom pistol I've ever shot. And I've shot the Sandhawk. I've shot the, what was the one I recently did? I did another one recently too. But this one, the Firehawk, is really nice. It's really nice. It's a nice balance when it comes to the size of the gun. The trigger is nice, even though it has the flat face to it. It has the compensator, which I could take or leave. I'm just not really a big guy into the compensators that stick out on the end of the barrel. I think they're more gimmicks than anything else, because they're not like porting. A ported barrel really does what it's supposed to do, because when the gas comes out of the port on the barrel, it's at high pressure. But when you have a compensator like this, essentially the projectile leaves the end of the barrel. Gas has time to expand in this chamber. Some is vented out forward, and then some is vented up. But it's not under high pressure. So you do get some degree of compensation, but it's not the same as a ported barrel. I don't know. I'm like, I could take it or leave it. I could take it or leave it. But the gun performed great. Very nice balance for a 2011 between like being maybe what could be a competition gun or a carry gun or a duty gun. I do want to talk about red dots for a moment as well. And I want to ask you guys, because some of you that follow my channel are, expert shooters and marksmen and this kind of stuff. And I want to ask you, how do you zero your red dots? Okay? And of course, this is one of those things where there's no right answer. You should probably do it for how you like to do it. I'm not a big fan. I know when I ask this question, inevitably I'm going to get somebody that goes, "You're only supposed to do it this way. Go watch this video. This trainer says to do it this way." But there's other trainers that say to do it other ways, okay? So the reason I'm asking you about zeroing a red dot is I was talking with the owner of this pistol, D. After I shot it, I sent him a picture of literally a group like this at 10 yards. I mean, I was like, dude, this thing's amazing. But I told him that I had to adjust the red dot, but he had already zeroed it for him. But it shot, my first group was like this low. Like it was like, I don't know, was that 8 inches, 9 inches low? But it was a super tight group. And so I got out my B&T Armorer's tool, and which has all these adapters and things for the aim points. And I had to adjust it way up. And then it was perfect for me. But I asked him, I was like, I thought you zeroed that. And he said he did. So what he told me he does, and he was doing this because of what somebody else told him, maybe a trainer, or maybe he saw a YouTube video, because this gun can have kind of co-witness sights. So you have the rear sight here on the front of the optic. You can see that right there on the plate. And obviously we have the front sight here. He was told to zero it where it kind of co-witnesses, meaning like if you can see the iron sights through the optic, you want to get that dot right above the front sight post as though you're looking through the iron sights, and hopefully it's going to be on, and if you have to kind of micro adjust it, you micro adjust it. For me, when it comes to red dots, I've always zeroed them where the dot is in the center of the window. So I will look through the sight, I put the dot in the center of the window, I'll fire it, see where the impacts are, and then I adjust it. And the reason I've always done that is because I've always struggled with the dot acquisition on a red dot. Like if I bring a firearm and a pistol up fast, it takes me a moment to find that dot. I mean, if I move the gun this far, and I'm trying to show you on camera here, like I can see the dot now it's gone. Like that little bit right there, I lose the dot in the window. So if I have the dot centered or zeroed where it's somewhere else in that window, and if I have to bring the gun up fast, I can't find it. And I'm doing this, like where the heck is that dot? So I give myself the best chance possible, put it right in the center. And I'm also aware of the optics of, I guess I should say, the tendency of glass, right? It bends light. And so, just like when it comes to rifle scopes, you have to be very cognizant of what happens on the peripheral of your field of view. Because as the lens, as it's bent and polished, as it gets to the edges of the lens, it can distort, it can get fuzzy, but also it can bend the light where you're not actually looking at what you're supposed to. Like you think, oh, I can see that, and actually it's moved in a little bit or it's moved out a little bit because of either the magnification or just the way it is. And I've always thought when it comes to optics like this that have zero magnification, if you put the dot towards, in this case, where the sights are, it's going to be very, very low in your window. And because it's very low in your window, the light is coming through near where the edge of the glass is. And so I've always thought it's going to distort that. So once you zero it, doing it that way, where you do it kind of co-witness it with the iron sights, then if you have a shooter that brings the dot to the center of the window, it's no longer being warped a little bit. The light isn't being warped, and now your point of impact has shifted. I understand that the center of the window, I would say the center 60-70% of the window should not have that warping. But I understand if you get to the edges of that window. And D was even telling me that when he puts, he'll zero them for him, and then when he lets other people shoot, not just me, other people have the same problem. So I was curious what you guys do. And is there any validity to my thoughts on red dots and how to zero them? Do you put the dot in the center of the window, Or do you put the dot somewhere else? Or if you can see your iron sights, do you like co-witness them with the iron sights? Okay, so tell me what you do, what you think is right, what works best for you, and are my thoughts on the dot being somewhere else in the window correct? I'm not an optics expert, okay? I know enough to be dangerous, but that's my thoughts on that. But for me, I always have the dot and always want the dot in the center of the window because that's where I'm going to find it and acquire it the quickest. So that's how I do it. But getting back to this gun, awesome gun, awesome gun. But what's weird about Nighthawk Customs, at 7 yards, 10 yards, these things group tremendously well for me. But when I go to 15 yards and 17 yards, the group goes from literally this to this. But then when I go to 25 yards, the group goes back to this. There's something about shooting at an intermediate distance with the Nighthawk Customs I struggle with. I mean, it's still a good group. I mean, I'm not going to complain with a group this big at 15 yards, okay? I'm not going to complain about that. It's just weird to me that I put holes through holes at 7 and 10 yards. 15 yards, it opens up, but then when I go to 25 yards, the group gets small again. And I can't figure out why that is. So, I don't know. That's just my experience with Nighthawks. And it only seems to happen with Nighthawks. I'm not saying it's a design thing. It's a me thing. But I don't have that issue with staccatos. So, before you type in the comment section, go get training! No, I don't do it with staccatos. I don't do it with Atlas Gunworks. I do it with Nighthawks for some reason. There's something about them at that intermediate distance that I struggle with. So, don't know what it is. But anyway, that was my experience with the guns I took to the range today. What do you guys think about any of those? And I got to go back in and edit the range footage and create the scripts, and hopefully tomorrow morning I can start on at least the Jennings. The Jennings, I think, is going to be first. But now let's take a look at this chronograph. I was talking about I'm going to be reviewing suppressors soon. And my friend D lent me this thing. And here is the chronograph. I mean, there's the back of it, Garmin. And that's it. Somehow this thing, I don't know if it uses like radar. I don't know what it does. You're supposed to put in the, the projectile weight. And you're supposed to have it so many inches from the muzzle. And then it can calculate the speed of the projectile. And it comes with, I guess he has mounts for guns. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use the tripod. He says there's a little tripod in here. Yeah, here it is. This little tripod. And there's a way I think you can attach it to your phone or Bluetooth it to your phone so you can get the readouts of all the data. This thing is freaking awesome. I've had the opportunity of using it one time. It was somebody else's at the range. I mentioned it, and it was incredible. It was awesome. So I got to get me one of these. So I'm gonna. It's called the Garmin Xero with an X, Xero. And this little puppy is like $500 or $600, but it's probably completely worth it. This thing is amazing because I remember the videos you can see on YouTube where people have chronographs and you have to shoot through like two, I guess the device is long and it has like two posts and it calculates it that way. This one doesn't need that. And it's small, it's compact, and it all fits into like a little case. I mean, yeah, you can't go wrong with that. So luckily he's letting me borrow this, so I have to learn how to use this. So I'll be looking at the instruction manual online and downloading the Garmin app and all that kind of stuff. So thank you, D. This is absolutely awesome and amazing. So yeah, what do you guys think about anything that I talked about tonight? And let me put all this back in here. So I had a good day at the range. Shot guns pretty accurately. Had a good time. No issues. So that's what's going on here at the Texas Gun Vault. So tell me your thoughts about anything I talk about. Please tell me about the zeroing of red dots, what you do and what your opinions are, and am I right or wrong about how I do it. So what's the word of the day? The word of the day is going to be Garmin. Garmin is the word of the day because I have to learn how to use this, and this is a cool little device. So Haven't done a lot of chronograph work, but hopefully I will now. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, and thank you for joining me here in the garage. And as always, thanks for watching.